And I believe here we go. Hello, everybody. Welcome to a very, very quick stream because I've not really got the time to record something, but I do have time to do a very, very quick stream around the sort of injury crisis that Leeds United might currently be finding themselves within. We never like to be in a bit of an injury crisis, but we always seem to bump into one every season. Hello, Iris. Someone seems to want a little bit of attention. Yeah, it's not a particularly good one, so we'll go through what Daniel Farker mentioned in his press conference yesterday, who is likely to be out, and what each of those could mean for the season going forward, because they're not all the nice, optimistic short-term injuries that we like to see. Some of them are the fairly long-term ones that can make a significant difference to the way that your season tends to go. So, first off, I'm going to start with the least serious first, just because that makes me feel a little bit better. We've got Gabby Goodmanson, who is not in the best of conditions. We know that he came back from international break with a little bit of a knock, a little bit of a niggle, and we were completely aware that that was going to be a little bit of a problem. That's why he didn't play against West Ham, but the thinking was, okay, if he doesn't play against West Ham, that's as a precaution. He'll come back into the side and everything will be fine and dandy. Things are not seemingly fine and dandy. He's still sort of struggling for that knock. It's one of those where it could still potentially be a little bit of an issue when it comes to the match itself. Hello, Iris. Be gone. And if he's unavailable, then we could be in deep, 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 deep trouble because of the injuries that I will get to in a minute's time. Another one that we've potentially got a little bit of a problem with is Jakobiol. Jakobiol is, I would say, probably not our number one choice defender, but he's up there in terms of centre-backs, and he's massively proven himself since we went to that five-at-the-back system as the sort of middle pivot sort of thing, who is happy to receive the ball from either side, dispense the ball in either direction with Strauch and Rodon on either side. He took a little bit of a knock in the match against West Ham, which means that he is also not currently in team training, unavailable, a little bit of a problem. Hopefully he'll be back in time. And the same sort of applies for Noah Okafor as well, who has missed a decent amount of football recently, which is absolutely not fantastic, and you don't really like that too much. And he's got a little bit of a back issue. Okafor is also going to be a late fitness test to see if he's going to be available. That's a massive question mark, and I think it's one of the most important question marks because when Noah Okafor is on the pitch, we play significantly better. In fact, having Okafor and Goodmanson down that flank together makes the difference, in my opinion, and if we are unable to have that, then I think we could be in genuinely big, big trouble. Those three names that I've just gone through are the three names that are sort of, they're 50-50. Daniel Farker specifically said that if we were playing the match on Friday, which is today, they absolutely wouldn't be available, but thankfully between the press conference and the match itself, there's a nice 4-day turnover. There's not just a case of, well, we're playing on Saturday, so there's 2 days, and it's basically set. Those injuries can all evolve in that time, and hopefully they get a little bit better, and we end up with those players back, which you never know, we'll have to find out. Dan James is the next one that we're going to have to discuss, who keeps having these little injury niggles, and it is an absolute nightmare. And he's got a little bit of an adductor problem going on, which I'm not the biggest fan of. I think there was a little bit of a consensus going on in the ground at West Ham that everyone around was sort of going, well, why did he play in 2 matches for Wales then? If you've played your strongest side against Bosnia, because of course you're going to, because you're trying to qualify for the World Cup, in the friendly afterwards, why would you make Rodon play for 90 minutes, for example, bring on Ampadu? Why not just play the kids and give them a little bit of international experience in a match that doesn't matter? Wales didn't do that, and now Dan James has a little bit of an issue, which is absolutely spectacular. We love to see it. Oh, God. But the upcoming ones are a little bit more of a problem. And I feel like you guys know that this is the one that is a bit more of a problem, because for people watching after the fact, I've done a poll in the chat to find out who people think Leeds United will miss the most. And I'm going to do second place in this poll now, because second place is Joe Rodon. Joe Rodon has some fun little ligament things, which is always good to see. It was a little bit of a pain seeing him come back on the pitch against West Ham after he was clearly down and injured. But he came back on the pitch, tried to do his thing, didn't work out, which is sort of devastating. It's always good to have your players fit and healthy and ready to go. Not got that, to be honest. And Rodon is potentially out until May-ish, which puts him out for a hell of a long time. That is everything. I believe it's Man United, Wolves, Bournemouth, and the Chelsea match. Which, as a list of games, it's fairly important. Against Man United, we could have feasibly gotten something had we had our best players available, not looking like that's going to be the case. Against Wolves, you sort of assume that we'll win, but that you can't just assume that, because Wolves have been playing reasonably well as of late. And then Bournemouth, a side that we looked pretty decent against earlier on in the season. And then Chelsea, and then Wembley. And that's the one that a lot of people will look at and go, well, if we win that, then that's the morale boosted and everything's going to be fantastic and it's going to be brilliant and it's fine. And now Rodon's not available for that, probably. There is a chance that he comes back a little bit early. I think Daniel Farker mentioned that when it comes to sort of ligament things, it's never a sort of set in stone thing. But it very rarely goes from knacked to fantastic, you can play tomorrow, when it comes to a ligament thing. And then we get to the player that is listed as the one that people will miss the most. Then it comes to Anton Stack, Germany midfielder, who could have arguably made a push for a World Cup spot if he was able to stay fit. However, that's not the case because of reasons outside of his control, because he is now injured from a nasty, nasty challenge in the penalty box that did not give Leeds United a penalty. Also has ligament issues. And when you have a look at the way that we're going to be playing against West Ham now, you get a little bit spooked. Because initially I was thinking, brilliant, not West Ham, against Man United now. I was thinking, fantastic, I think we've got a side that can compete against any side in this league. And hopefully we're able to do that. And we've got the players that we need, and that'll be wonderful, and we can kick on and secure our place in this division. When you have a look at what the lineup's going to look like now, you've got Darlow or Perry. It doesn't matter. A goalkeeper's a goalkeeper. It'll probably be Darlow, though. And the players that you would have said are completely immovable in that lineup are the back five. So you would have said Bogle, Goodmanson as your fullbacks, Strauch, Rodon, Beale. In front of that, you would have said Ampadu and Stack were basically solid as well. But now, Beale potentially out, Rodon potentially out, which means that you've got a back three that is potentially Strauch, Bornau, Justin. With your fullbacks, fine. You've got the fullbacks, wonderful. I'm happy with that. They are absolutely key to the way that we play. But then central midfield, you got Ampadu, and then you got to go, okay, so we've not got Stack. Do we want someone who can be equally gritty in the tackle, like an Ilya Gruev? Do we want someone that can be more progressive, like Autanaka? Do we want someone that is going to press their backline, like a Brendan Aronson? But all of those options aren't Anton Stack. Like, we signed him last summer, and he's been incredibly special since that point. And then you got the question of up top. Because Calvert-Lewin, yeah, he played against West Ham, but I think he played more than he wanted to. Because there's a reason we brought him on the, was it 50-something, 60-something? There's a reason we brought him on when we did, and it's because he's been struggling with a knock. And, of course, you give him as little time as you can while still giving him the minutes to get back into match fitness. And then he had to play extra time as well. And take 2 penalties, which is a pretty high-stress environment to be in, especially when you are being rested. So is Calvert-Lewin okay? We don't know from the presser. He wasn't mentioned, so you're sort of led to believe he's probably fine. But the step beyond that is, well, what if he's not? Because in that case, you're saying, well, Okafor's not there. So I guess your sort of winger is maybe Aronson playing with Mecha? And things start to get incredibly ragtag. And admittedly, I'm looking at the worst possible scenario here because, let's be honest, when things look a little bit injury crisis, if you're looking at things that aren't the worst possible scenario, you're making a little bit of a mistake. But the way that this lineup could be against Man United has gone from, I think we can win this and it will set us on the path to survival, to try get a point. And it's not going to be the easiest point. It's away from home. It is going to be a grindy, grindy game of football if we're able to turn it into that. Because the best case scenario for Leeds at the minute is make things as difficult as we can. And we don't want to be in a spot where that is the option. But it kind of is. And that's a little bit of a shame. So to sum up, because again, I've not got too long. I need to run to the shops. I need to get tea. And then I will be on a stream over on Big Up with Jer at 7 o'clock. That's going to be a good time. Stack, definitely out. Rodon, definitely out. Dan James, definitely out. 3 potentially missing players of Noah Okafor, Jakob and Gabby Goodmanson. We'll find out how it goes. Let me know what you think the score's going to be in the comments down below. I'll keep doing videos over the weekend. You know me, I'll do my best to. But yeah, let's hope. Anyway, like, comment, make sure you're subscribed because YouTube keeps unsubscribing people. And I will see you all later. Toodaloo, mi amigos. Also, I was meant to go through the chat, so I'm going to very, very quickly do that. A quick thank you to Shawnee B8698, who Iris says hit the like button and subscribe. She does. I think you should like and subscribe. And Alexander Cortle says, hi, last time I was here was in the summer. Good to have you back, and I hope you stick around. Anyway, I'm in a bit of a rush. I'll try and do a longer stream tomorrow. I've got something fun planned ahead of Wembley, but I'm going to have to try and find the time to do that. And I will see you all later. Toodaloo, mi amigos.